Welcome to Drive Talk Radio with Lester Smith.
Welcome, everybody, to Drive Talk with Lester Smith. I tell you today, you're going to be very, very happy to hear something. Just stand by, Golden Knights fans, because the puck drop will follow immediately after this interview with none other than Mike Wilson, four-time Super Bowl winner. I know, you said, what? Now, he played in 4 Super Bowls? No, he won 4 Super Bowls. He has 4 Super Bowl rings. Wide receiver, welcome Mike Wilson to the show.
Hey, thank you, Lester. Hey, looking forward to talking and sharing all my experiences and wisdom from my over a decade career with San Francisco. And, if you even go further back, I came in the league with the Dallas Cowboys, was drafted by them. And I tell you, the one guy who also had an indelible impression on me was Drew Pearson, who went into the Hall of Fame this year. And he was, I tell you, inspiration and motivation and allowed me to pursue my dream, because he said some words to me that made it obtainable for me as a young athlete coming in the National Football League.
Now, what college did you come in from, Mike?
I played at Washington State. Quick story. When I came out of high school, which was out of Southern California, Carson High School, back then in the 70s, I graduated in 77. Majority of teams were totally running the veer, I-back. And so when I was coming out of high school, my senior year, I had 26 catches for 13 touchdowns. And most of those touchdowns were thrown to me on third down and long, third and 8, third and 12, when the secondary was prepared to try to take away a pass. And so fast forward, when I was, picking a university to go to school at, I wanted the opportunity to maybe get my share of touches, more touches than I got in high school. And there was the throwing Samoan, Jack Thompson at Washington State. When I was coming out, he was going to be a junior. And so I was able to go to Washington State, one of the top passing teams in the country. And that really motivated my interest in going to Washington State, along with I majored in communications and wanted to get into TV productions and all that stuff. So it was pretty clean cut. I mean, between all the big schools, UCLA, SC, Cal, Stanford, everybody, University of Washington, they were running the ball, and I really wanted to be selfish and go to a team that threw the football a little bit more than they ran it.
Now, speaking of college, I got to ask you about, what's your opinion on college players now being able to be compensated for their play?
I'm just going to use my experience. I used to remember sitting at. First of all, let me answer your question, and I'll tell my experience. I think that we all cut our TV on, especially now that we're getting into bowl week. We cut our TV on every Saturday, majority Saturday, and watch college football, and that's beamed around the country, around the world. Those universities are making millions, maybe even billions. And you got young men. Now I'm gonna put myself in that category, going to college, and I was just happy to have $10 or $8 to get a pizza on the weekend for myself, because you're a scholarship athlete, you can't have a job, you can't work, and for those who are, I won't say who don't have the resources from their family. My roommate in college, who was a scholarship football player, he had a car and a credit card. And so he didn't have wants. I was depending on mom and dad sending me $10 so I can, like I say, get my pizza, to make it really simple. And so I think that those guys are, there are teams that got household names, and those gentlemen should be able, because they're all not going to go to the NFL.
Right.
Even though they're a star player in college, that don't mean they're going to make it in the NFL. I mean, that's less than 1% of the guys who can go on. So I believe that those guys should and could be compensated, and why not? I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, I get to sit at home now as a retired NFL guy and watch as much football as I want, and those universities are putting a ton of money in their coffers, and the young athlete is sitting there trying to figure out where he's going to get his next pizza for the weekend. So
no, because not to cut you off, but I'm saying I just saw Notre Dame. I mean, what they gave that coach, man, to go to LSU. I'm like, is that much money in that ball?
Hey, and let's talk.
You know,
about, I'm
are you
I'm living
kidding
in Southern
me?
California.
So you're there, yeah.
Yeah, and I've not read what that is, but I know the coach just came from Oklahoma to come to USC.
And man, it's $10
and
million.
Apparently, he's got quite a deal too. I haven't read all the fine print, but yes, the coaches are being well compensated, and yet those athletes are, you're trading, and don't misinterpret it now. My father-in-law was a professor at USC. Everybody in my family has gone to college, and so a college education is a necessity. Like I said, we're all at one point we're student athletes, and so therefore let's don't lose sight of that. However, there are stipulations with some young men who are not like basketball, who now you can be a freshman and then go pro. In the college game, you got to wait until your junior year, and so once again, I just think that there needs to be a fair and equitable way so that everybody can live a comfortable life. I mean, we all have lived in the dorm or in our apartment while we're in college, and it is a sacrifice, and you're studying. But as a regular student, you're not on TV on Saturday or during bowl week, bowl month, and wow, you got millions of people watching that are generating billions of dollars for universities.
Absolutely. Well, let's fast forward, Mike, to when you were traded from Dallas to the 49ers. The 49ers couldn't have been that good at that time because I lived in the Bay Area, and I know in the beginning, man, yeah. I mean, before Mr. D came, and we'll get there, but, I mean, what did you think about that when you got traded?
Well, first of all, I'm going to correct you there, Lester. I got cut. I was one of their last cut. The Cowboys cut me. They let me go. And before I even, made it back home to Southern California to decide what I was going to do, I did get a call from the San Francisco 49ers. A guy by the late Billy Wilson, just happened to have the same last name. Billy Wilson called me saying, "Hey, Mike, we want to fly you in, and we want to give you a tryout." And so, as the story goes for me, I landed in L.A. and just jumped on the next plane, headed back, I think the next morning, to San Francisco on a round-trip ticket that day, to be honest with you. So I flew in most NFL teams, and we'll get into this a little later. I mean, I coached with 5 NFL teams, so I know the game now. I didn't know it then, but they were flying me in to, have some names on the list just in case they needed to bring somebody in case of an injury or whatever. But I came in and I felt like one of my best workouts, excellent workout. And I sat in that locker room for 4 hours waiting they didn't tell me anything. And to my surprise, I finally heard that they cut Spider Gaines, who was a University of Washington guy, and then they had Matt Boozer, who was a Cal guy. And they released both those guys and traded the great first-round pick out of UCLA. I can't believe I'm slipping my mind. But they traded him. And so they signed me. And, the word on the street was you can't come in and learn Bill Walsh's offense. And,
Bill was there. Bill was the coach at the time.
Oh, Bill Walsh was – I saw Bill Walsh and Billy Wilson and John McVay up in watching my workout. And, me coming out, I was 6'4" and 218. I had all the measurables when you come to – and the speed to play in the league, but the NFL, in my professional opinion, is always it's a numbers game. There are quite a few talented players who don't make a team and end up never playing in the National Football League because it's just there's more talent than roster spots. So I was fortunate enough to go to a team to come full circle to your question, to a team that had just I think they were 4-12 the previous year and were rebuilding and then you go into a little bit of history of the 49ers, Bill Walsh even questioned his coaching ability and if he, had what it took, even though he had just come from Stanford, to, build a champion. And in my rookie year, which was 1981, I came in and, lo and behold, and not only making the roster and playing, I mean, we ended up winning the Super Bowl. So it was quite a transition from leaving Dallas to come to San Francisco.
Who was on the other side of you? Was that the year that Freddie Solomon?
Yeah,
passed away. Man, Freddie, what a great guy.
Oh yeah. Well, for me, fortunately, as I left the Cowboys, America's team back then, and it still is now, I left like I said, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, and Butch Johnson to come to San Francisco with Dwight Clark and Freddie Solomon. And those two guys were, turned out to be my brothers, and I played alongside them throughout the rest of their career. And then, but I tell you, Freddie and Dwight, welcomed me with open arms, and I was able to learn Bill Walsh's complicated offense, which it really wasn't that complicated for me. But
well, Mike, stand by for one moment. We're going to take a quick pause for the calls. We'll be right back with Mike Wilson from the 49ers. Stand by.